If you visit Turkiye or watch a video about it, you will certainly see either Ataturk's flag or a statue of him in the background. And if you speak with a Turkish person, you'll definitely hear them share one of Ataturk's quotes. According to recent studies, 89% of people in Turkey deeply admire Ataturk. So why do the Turks love Ataturk so much? Mustafa Kemal Atatürk was born in 1881 in Salonika, one of the western cities of the Ottoman Empire. His mother wanted him to attend a religious school, while his father enrolled him in a modern one. But his father, Ali Riza, passed away when Mustafa Kemal was only 8 years old. After that, he became a shy and reserved child. He was deeply inspired by people in military uniforms and decided he wanted to be a soldier. Even though his mother was against it because he was her only son, he secretly took the exam and passed. One night, his mother had a dream where she saw her son standing on top of a very tall building. A voice said to her, "If you don't let your son become a soldier, we will throw him down from here. But if you do, his place will always be at the top." So she allowed him to enroll in military school. He graduated from military academy with great success. He volunteered for many battles and inspired those around him with his charisma and courage. During the Italo-Turkish War in Tripoli, the first warplanes were used. By sheer chance, one of the bombs dropped from a plane landed near Mustafa Kemal and injured his eye. Despite this, he refused to leave the battlefield, impressing his commanders, who gave highly favorable reports about him. When his mother wanted him to marry, he replied, "Mother, I am married to my homeland." In World War I, he served at the Gallipoli front. When he noticed enemy troops attempting a landing from the sea, he acted on his own initiative, without notifying higher-ranking officers, and defeated the enemy. This changed the course of the Battle of Gallipoli and made him a national hero. After that, he went to the Caucasus front and defeated the Russians. Even though the Ottoman Empire lost the war, Mustafa Kemal emerged victorious in every battle he fought. As a commander, he risked his life fighting alongside his soldiers. After the war, the Ottoman Empire signed an agreement with foreign powers that allowed its lands to be occupied. The Ottoman Sultan remained silent. Meanwhile, the Turkish people suffered greatly. The Greek army burned villages, drove families from their homes, raped women, and committed massacres. In some villages, Turks took up arms and resisted. The Sultan tried to disarm them and sent Mustafa Kemal to Samsun for that purpose. Instead, Mustafa Kemal gave weapons to the people and called for resistance. The Sultan ordered him to be captured and executed, but Mustafa Kemal refused, rising up against him. As days passed, more and more people, including former comrades, joined him, making him stronger. Mustafa Kemal and his friends rode to the United States, seeking unconditional support. But the Americans responded by demanding that a portion of Turkish lands be granted to Armenia and certain privileges be offered to the US. In response, Mustafa Kemal said, "Rather than accepting a slow and dishonorable death like a bird trapped in an imperialist's claw, we, as the sons of our fathers, prefer to die fighting." Meanwhile, Lenin, the new leader of Soviet Russia, promised to send weapons to support Mustafa Kemal. They exchanged letters, and weapons arrived in Anatolia. The Turkish people responded by sending food to Soviet Russia. Ancient Turkish communities in Central Asia and Muslims in India also sent financial support. Slowly but surely, Mustafa Kemal grew stronger. Since the Ottoman Sultan and his men collaborated with the occupying forces, Mustafa Kemal established an alternative government in Ankara and started forming an army from those who joined him. In the east of the country, the French and Armenians occupied Turkish lands. Mustafa Kemal sent his close friend, Kazım Karabekir Pasha, to the area. The Armenians were defeated and forced to surrender, followed by the French, who were defeated with the support of the local people. The Italians announced their withdrawal from Anatolia without a fight. At that point, Mustafa Kemal rallied his army and launched an offensive against the British and Greeks. Although the British-backed Greek army was on the verge of victory, Mustafa Kemal stood before his troops and said, "If necessary, I will take the Turkish flag myself and climb the mountain to continue the struggle. I will shed my blood for these lands I hold so dear and die for them." These words inspired the soldiers, boosting their morale. To launch a final attack, he devised a bold and risky military plan. When some of his staff expressed doubt, he said, "If I fail to win this war, you can have me executed before the parliament I built." Mustafa Kemal was a hard-working, highly skilled military strategist. He misled the British-backed Greek army by making it appear that the main attack would come from the north. In interviews with foreign journalists, he claimed the north was the Turkish army's stronghold, prompting the Greeks to shift their troops. Meanwhile, foreign spies kept a close watch on him. Mustafa Kemal announced in the newspapers that he would be hosting a tea party, making the Greek commanders confident that the Turks would not attack that night. But in the middle of the tea party, Mustafa Kemal left quietly, went to the troops, and launched the attack from the south. The Greeks, expecting an attack from the north, were taken by surprise. When he later launched a second attack from the north, the Greek army completely collapsed. This was an ancient Turkish military tactic. On September 9, 1922, the Greek army was defeated and pushed into the sea. Mustafa Kemal was preparing to launch an attack on British forces when civil unrest in England forced Prime Minister David Lloyd George to resign. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Sultan Vahdettin fled the country on a British ship. The war was won and the nation was saved. But Mustafa Kemal refused to become a king. He trusted in the people and announced that the Turkish people would govern themselves. The Republic of Turkey was proclaimed, and Mustafa Kemal Atatürk was elected its first president. In the Ottoman Empire, religious rules had governed society. Ataturk said, "People can have religious beliefs, but nations cannot be built upon religion." He implemented a modern secular constitution. In the Ottoman Empire, literacy was only 4%. Ataturk opened new schools, encouraged women to pursue education and participate in society at a time when many European nations still refused women the right to vote. Ataturk granted Turkish women the right to vote and be elected. He replaced the Arabic script with a new Turkish Latin alphabet. He gave land to Turkish farmers free of charge and, together with Soviet Russia, built modern factories to revive the economy. To foster global peace, he signed agreements with many nations. The Greek Prime Minister, representing a nation that had once fought him, later nominated Ataturk for the Nobel Peace Prize. Ataturk invited Jewish scholars fleeing Hitler's regime to teach in Turkey, creating a modern university that allowed Turkish students to learn from the best professors. He implemented sweeping cultural reforms to preserve Turkish heritage and traveled across the country. Before World War II, he signed peace agreements with all of Turkey's neighbors. As president, he never left Turkey, but many world leaders came to visit him, including King Amanullah Khan of Afghanistan, Shah Reza Pahlavi of Iran, King Edward VIII of England, President Carlos Ulmanis of Latvia, King Carol II of Romania, King Alexander A of Yugoslavia, King Faisal A of Iraq, and Prime Minister Eleftherios Venizelos of Greece. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk married once, but divorced 3 years later. He never had biological children due to an illness he suffered as a child, but he became the adoptive father of 4 girls and 2 boys. Having lost his own father at an early age, Ataturk felt deep compassion for orphans and made regular donations to support them. In the 1930s, as Hitler and Mussolini were making preparations for war in Europe, Ataturk strongly opposed this. "War is a crime unless absolutely necessary. We only fight those who come to kill us," he said. Mussolini announced in the newspapers that he wanted to claim Turkish territories as colonies. In response, Ataturk organized a large military exercise and, despite being ill, stood with his troops. To Mussolini, he announced, "Those who set their sights on our land will be met with the burning force of the sun." Mussolini quickly responded saying, "My words have been misunderstood. I didn't mean Turkey." Meanwhile, Hitler held deep respect for Ataturk. At one point, Hitler offered a large sum of money to obtain some of Ataturk's letters kept in Germany because he admired Ataturk for resisting invasion and liberating his homeland. In 1937, Ataturk's illness progressed. At the time, a small piece of land in southern Turkey called Hatay was contested by France, Syria, and Turkey. Ataturk promised his people he would secure Hatay. The French press announced that Ataturk was too ill to get out of bed, so he traveled to Hatay to attend a military parade, declaring that he would march into Hatay and fight if needed. This visit weakened him further. In the following days, France and Syria announced their agreement to relinquish Hatay, and Turkish troops entered the area. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk passed away on November 10, 1938, after making Turkey a strong modern nation. Throughout his life, Ataturk read 3,977 books. He spoke 4 languages and dedicated his final years to Turkish cultural studies, successfully convincing many scholars that ancient civilizations were shaped by the Turks. Ataturk donated all his wealth to the people, leaving only a modest amount for relatives and adoptive children. Every year, on November 10th at precisely 9:05 a.m., millions of people across Turkey stand in silence for 1 minute to honor Ataturk. Millions visit his mausoleum every year.
Thank you very much for watching me. I am waiting for your comments.